Hey, this is Cam from the Brother Slim, and we are reading another ATO update, number 73. Onward, Upward, and Skyward. What is Sins of Heracles, new Learn to Play Battle, Carcass Delves, KF Fulfillment End, Production Timeline, and Online Store. A mouthful as usual, but a lot of really fun, exciting things. So, hey guys and gals, another short-ish update. Spoiler, I don't think it really is at all. As we hunker down on Sins of Heracles in enormity development, prepare for next month's Spiel Essen. No booth, only Rome. I'm going to be going there. We're hoping to be meeting these folks. It'd be so cool to meet everybody in person. And I prepare my very own journey of a lifetime. More on that next month. However, spoilers, I'm not going anywhere. Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder what's cracking there. My guess is something personal rather than work. But who knows? We'll see. Next month, apparently. Let's get into it. Kingdoms Forlorn fulfillment nearing its end. So hard to believe, but with UK underway, it is underway, although it is slow, something we're raising with our logistics partner Green. We're almost done with KF fulfillments. With that, our CS team will slowly transition into replacement handling and dealing with the usual straggler cases, because these always happen. Yep, 110%. Doesn't matter the scope of their crowdfunding campaign, it'll always happen. As an aside too, I think UK had the worst fulfillments for the last wave for ATO expansions. And so sweet that it's almost done already. Okay, so that also means that soon, next week, the KFPM will reopen and offer both Wave 1 and Wave 2 content. Just a note on Wave 1, aka the game itself, quantities are limited and interest is high. We cannot guarantee there will be a spare copy for everyone. I can guarantee that there won't be enough Sins of Heracles, Salawias, mats, and dice packs, though. Excuse me, words. The demand measured by notification subscriptions far exceeds our estimated supply. You have been warned. If you want to get notified, okay, we've read that before. Go review on BGG if you played, for sure. Okay, onwards we go. Small Skyward Odyssey update. I heard you. You want to know what's up with the Skyward Odyssey, and I'm here to deliver. Discussing Skyward Odyssey has been tricky because it's essentially a spoiler box. It spoils the C3, C4, and C5 endings. It spoils specific storylines, mechanics, and sometimes the future. So again, I'll try to talk around that. Skyward Odyssey is a challenging piece of game because, although much smaller than a cycle, it is mostly referential material, as it is supposed to pay respect to the completed cycles and your choices. There's a lot of cross-referencing going on with all of ATO and some Sins of Heracles. A lot of fact-checking. There's also the pressure of creating a proper send-off for the game. Yes, C5 has a definitive ending, or two, and now we are also putting out a coda to C5. It almost feels like the second half of Return of the King, and the C5 coda is no scouring of the Shire, though. Fun little nod there. There is also the matter of new mechanics and how they interact with the systems already in place. Skyward Odyssey works with improved systems from Onward Odyssey, something less brain crunchy than the main game, so you can focus on narrative closure, though not to the point of being irrelevant. There are also stories complications. Here there be spoilers, so beware and skip the rest of this paragraph if you haven't finished the appropriate cycle. Well, we are going to skip that. Cycle 4, we're going to skip that. Cycle 5, we're going to skip that. Hopefully going to be starting Cycle 2 playthrough maybe next month. Also going to be gone for half the month though too, so we'll see. I really want to get back into gaming with the boys, but the schedule has been a challenge. Okay, so let's jump into what's next here. So what is Sins of Heracles? Why has it taken so long? Aeon Trespass, 12 Sins of Heracles is a standalone sequel, narratively a prequel / sidequel / sequel to Aeon Trespass Odyssey. It is not an expansion and is not just a variant core game. In a lot of ways, it is completely new, like KF or Enormity. It expands on many of ATO's beloved systems, like the ICPTM, so Inverted Combat Paradigm, trademark. But it also replaces a lot of big systems with new ones, like the entire journey phase replacing the voyage phase, like doing away with the timeline, like introducing the Oikos Triskelion. So I think like how Titans have Triskelions when you're doing combat, your family has a Triskelion to keep track of stuff. Like the class system, you'll even get a new updated escalation chart. You know that ATO reinvented itself with each cycle to stay fresh, new rules, new paradigms, and so on. Sins of Heracles does it too, with seasonal boxes, and within those seasonal boxes, region to region. I think I read that a little weird. And two and two together, add two and two together, and you get a brand new game. Yeah, I like ATO quite a bit, and I have a feeling this is going to be like the magnum opus by comparison. At the same time, Sins of Heracles needs to be true to ATO, to its storytelling, to its ethos, and to its difficulty. Personally, I am a very casual gamer, and it could maybe be a touch easier, but well, it's also really well balanced, I think, too. Okay, it needs to feel ATO. Making ATO hard but winnable was a world-class balancing act. Yeah, so case in point there, we technically lost cycle 1, but it was because of me. Long story short, it's because of me. I misread a rule, and we should have been able to move further ahead much sooner than we did, and because we didn't, we ran out of time. So we just kept playing it because we weren't going to restart it. We just don't get together enough to do it. But well balanced as far as the fights go. Like we would lose some, we would win a good portion, and whenever we lost or won, usually it was really close, which was really, really fun. Okay, I wrote about in one of the old updates how, unlike other games, ATO is not a scenario-based but continuous open-world single campaign. How the progression of time, of story, of doom, of battles, and their difficulty, of the map, and of your technology all needed to align. How cycles needed to align. How it all works together is kind of a scientific miracle. Well, Sins of Heracles needs to do it too, but with major system changes. Sorry, I'm really struggling to read today. The journey, crafting, and classes, each affecting the power curve. It needs to be true to Sins of Heracles' level of challenge, but also to ATO. It's just as hard, if not harder, as it was originally. No doubt, especially with all of the intergame interchangeability that they have, of being able to introduce various primordials from one game into the other, and nemesis things that they're doing and such. So I can only imagine, especially trying to wrap that up with the story ties too, like madness. Okay, and on top of all that, the expanded systems and the balancing. Sins of Heracles needs to somehow be easier to set up, easier to learn, more intuitive to play. Yep, setup in this game, for me and the guys at least, I usually do all the setup before they come over to play, and it's probably at least half an hour, and that's after figuring out like a decent organizational structure and such too. But I guess to be fair, that also includes doing stream setup and stuff, which you wouldn't be doing if you're just playing for yourselves at home too. So maybe we'll cut it to like 15 minutes with that in mind, but that might be generous still. Okay, and I have to write the entire story too, which kinds of makes me the bottleneck. So why has it taken so long? TLDR, it's equally or even bigger than ATO. It is the same amount of new systems. It needs to be balanced with ATO, but pose a challenge. It needs to be better at onboarding and managing complexity. There is a lot of story. No doubt. I get the feeling that this is leading towards a delay, but I think every single ITU game has been delayed, and always for the right reasons in my mind, like being either cognizant of what's going on globally in the industry, and then also doing delays for quality, which I'm always a fan of. I think this is some new art too, which I really, really like. Last Days of Summer. It's official. This is the name on the next AT core box. Those of you who have followed my games for the past few years know I cannot leave a generic thing alone. And so summer, fall, winter, and spring were always destined for a name change. It's not a complete name change either. The passage of seasons is as important to the game as it ever was. So each title will retain that prominent core. We'll just have more fun with it. Last Days of Summer. Cool. Mechanic Spotlight, Carcassdale. So this I'm really excited for, and I also really like the art of this fellow, the Cretan sarcophagus? Something like that. But what I really like about the art is we can see what looks to be a claw / maybe weird face, because it looks like someone's got eyeballs there too. But give me a weird, creepy boat crab monster. Let me see those claws. I'm here for it. I don't think we got to see a claw on the actual sculpt. And so please, let's get that claw on the sculpt. That's all I have to say there. I won't be surprised if, I hope this thing gets revisited, because the sculpt isn't horrible, but it's also not that fantastic in my mind. So yeah, give me a claw. That's all I'm asking for. Speaking of new systems, we have the Carcassdale, which is a pain to balance, but is extremely fun and enhances both the ICP gameplay loop and the game's narrative. Specifically, it is being designed to provide a way to bounce back after defeat. But if you're not careful, can easily put you into more trouble. Interesting. Specifically the part bouncing back after defeat. How do you delve carcasses if you were defeated? I'll be curious about that. Also, just getting so focused on the claw, there's the actual people going down to dive down to the corpse, which is really, really cool. It kind of gives me, what's that anime that came out relatively recently? Kaiju number 8 vibes? Kind of. Okay. Heracleidae will die in battles, routinely. As a result of the mysterious effect called the Gaia Pact, death is only a temporary state of affairs for them. However, before they're brought back, they linger in the in-between, death's door, whatever you call it. And the more they linger, the more power and resources they can claw back. The rules are simple. Each Titan that dies in battle participates in the Carcassdale, which is laid out as a kind of map. You move from node to node, and if you succeed, you gain what the node was offering. And what they offer is extremely good. Gaia Seeds, which are Heracleidae Resurrections, Experience, Pygmalion Stones, Sisyphus Tears, Primordial Cores, and even brand new Titan forms. That's interesting. I am curious if those Titan forms are ones we're aware of already or not. That's really, really cool. Also, Sisyphus Tears and Cores, we're familiar with those. Experiences, I think, going to be a new system. Pygmalion Stones we've heard of, but I can't remember what they are, so I can't remember if it's an ATO thing or a Heracles thing. We'll find out. So what's the catch? The catch is that to move deeper into the carcass, you need to negate life. This is represented by an inverted obol draw. At each node, you draw an obol, but this time you're looking for the You Died card. Each time you cling death, you gain what is offered and can move deeper for more rewards, or walk away with what you've got so far. However, if you delve deeper, then you draw a You Live card. You're yanked out of the entropy by the forces of life itself and lose everything you've gained so far. Bah! If you went for an especially juicy reward, like a new Titan, you might even accrue hubris, hastening your personal story's resolution. Interesting. There's more fun to be had with the different node types, unique rewards, and penalties, but that's the gist of the system. A push your luck dalliance with Freud's Thanatos drive. Oh, and don't get me started on how thematic to the narrative it is. I can't wait to get this into the story for you. It's going to be glorious. Interesting. I'm curious if that's going to have anything to do with like the forest with the fates and stuff, maybe, or to do with Cerberus being dead and like death being a little, like the dead being undead, for lack of better words. And I think that's the fall season. Then we have, okay, so the Cretan sarcophagus. When you enter around white node, add its reward to your previous rewards. When you enter a diamond white node, add its rewards to your previous rewards. When you enter a diamond black node, its rewards replace all your previous rewards. Interesting. So you'd have to draw at least 1, 2, 3, 4 obols to get to that point. It's potentially 5. Interesting. At least this seems like a really simple system. Part of one of the reasons why I ultimately got rid of my Kingdoms for Loan pledge, which I do regret doing that as a story play, like realistically going through the story, probably not actually playing it all because I think it's too big of a game and I don't have time to play it. I would love that. But one of the reasons why I did get rid of my pledge was just it's not like there was a huge amount of them, but there was a bunch of different kind of other add-ons to the gameplay loop, kind of things like this, but with more complications. And there's so much space on the table already with the game that it just felt kind of cumbersome. And so this looks simpler though. And so things like this I think are cool. Okay, so new Learn to Play battle. For the last month and a half, I've been working with the Heracles Learn to Play. It follows the ATO blueprints, but at the same time aims to be even more approachable and easy to play, including a whole separate deck of tutorial cards that will guide you through the expanded journey section. Learn to Play for ATO was fine. I kind of wish there was at least an item or two that you could use, like a weapon and such, that isn't just your fists, because the fists are super basic, and it just felt like a little slow. The theme of it's on point, because you're freaking rock'em sock'em kaiju battling with a hand monster, throwing your own hands, and that's freaking sweet, especially while it's trying to invade your ship. That aspect is really neat, but in the mechanic gameplay of it, it felt like a little bit slow. So I would love to see just like thinking of like Kingdom Death having like the founding shards or stone face shards. I can't remember the founding stone. Yeah, I think that's it. Something like that would be cool in my book. Okay. It also introduces a brand new battle. You see, the Hecaton was the perfect tutorial boss. It was simple as a fist punch could be. It was easy, and was also the first battle in the proper campaign, so it was also a learning experience of that particular boss. Yep, that is a good point. Heracles posed a challenge. You have more primordials than ever per season, and they also have more advanced than poor old Hecaton. They're also more advanced than poor old Hecaton. Sarcophagus, Lion Eater, Stormfronts, they all are more unique than Cycle 1 bosses, making Sarcophagus, it's hard to say, the tutorial battle made more sense, but is also not as versatile as Hecaton. So, I've developed a new boss for you, one with its own sheet, full AI MVP decks, just one for the Learn to Play. They say each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. There's a certain nobility in the notion, a sense of being special, something to hold close when all else is taken away. His impressive frame slowly coalesces from the cool darkness. Oh, you can only watch. As he walks towards you, past you, away from you, a sinking feeling envelops you, though you still can't grasp the full shape of it. It will be years, decades for some of you, of restless nights and nameless longing and self-reflection before you name this fear. Overwhelming, alienating, unbearable, and you realize it was not always a part of you, but rather inflicted upon you, forcibly, unjustly, cruelly, on that very day. The day of stranding, when your father left. Oh interesting. There we go. Papa. That's right. For the tutorial battle, you're rolling out. We're rolling out good old Heracles, just as you remember him from your childhood. And no, before you ask, we're not asking another new miniature to the box. Heracles will be represented by a special round marker with his punchable face prominently displayed. And your choice of miniatures: Zeus, Eleutherios, or Beastmaster Titan, both representing iconic facets of Heracles and your lineage. Zeus, Eleutherios. I don't remember. I think we've seen this one before, but I don't remember where it's from or what its purpose is. Beastmaster. I'm kind of confused by this. So instead of a miniature, replaced by a special round marker. So there it is there. And your choice of miniature. Yeah, so I don't really understand that, but I guess a round marker is something to do with the fights in the game, or this specific fight. I'm not sure. We didn't have round markers in ATO. And then this guy, I can't remember where it comes from. This is one of the Cycle 1 Titans, or Summer of Cycle Titans. So yes, now Summer has 6 unique primordials, albeit one of them makes only a brief appearance in the Learn to Play. I would not be surprised if it's visible somewhere else too. Maybe not, but I would not be surprised if it comes back in some other fashion throughout the game as well. The Man, the Legend, the Bastard. So that is Heracles before all the stuff that happens to him. Next, online store sales, plus US shipping. As we're closer to the year's end, our final online store sale approaches. For ATO, we'll have a brand new selection of Titans for Persian Dreamwalkers, and the Lost in Action, now returned and reworked Zero Trireme Wishender, as well as the final engine primordial. As is tradition, these will be accompanied by a selection of gear cards and new sheets, and in case of the engine, a special battle. That's super cool. So I've commented on the store releases a couple of times, and it's been really interesting following the primordial ones of what they include with it, because it went from just items and no actual like encounter stuff to experimenting with a few different kinds. So really excited to see that. And for Persian Dreamwalkers, those will be really cool. Zero Trireme Wishender. I think the Wishender is already Titan, if I remember correctly, but I think this one is on a floating trireme. It's a sculpt that was teased and shown off quite a while ago. Now, 2 things, print run and timing. For print runs, we've made efforts to ramp up our production, so we hope we can offer more minis this time during the last sale. During the last sale. Similarly, if time and capacity permits, due to popular demand, we may issue a tiny reprise of the Delphian Dreamwalkers. That's the good part. Now to the complicated one, US shipping. As many of you know, President Trump has abolished the de minimis tax exemption for the entire world, meaning that every package to the US, however small, will be subject to the tariff tax. This is neither here nor there. I'm not here to comment on another country's economic policy. However, this abolishment has to date not been followed by new guidelines, and no new procedures have been put in place to process the millions of packages that are sent to the US each month, which resulted in most of the world temporarily stopping package shipments to the US. Some 80% of US package traffic has stopped as a result. What this means is that currently we have no easy means to ship orders to you. We hope new procedures are in place soon, so our November sale date remains unaffected. But at this point, we cannot confirm it either. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. On the bright side, November is sale date, so that's when the sale is going to happen. I am really interested how this is all going to shake out too. This impacts only our store's collector's offer. Sales of games and game add-ons remain unaffected as orders are processed from stock already within the US. This does impact some replacement shipments. These happen straight from our HQ. Good to know. And what is this? That looks like a really, really cool Titan. So it's Sins of Heracles art, and don't really know anything else. Also looks like a robot leg, maybe 2, which is pretty neat also. Oh no, there might be a leg in there actually. But yeah, really cool art nonetheless. Onwards we go. So Heracles and other stuff production timeline. All this brings us to the next wave's projected production timeline. In some ways, nothing has changed since I last discussed this. My aim is to deliver the files to the factory at the beginning of December. This includes Last Days of Summer, Pythagoras Doom, Skyward Odyssey, Pathfinder Titan, Fate Singer, Last Stand of the Giginis, Dice, Mats, Summer Deluxe Tiles. Yes, we'll be breaking up that large box, so you don't have to wait a year to play with these. However, at the same time, due to the continued uncertainty about the US tariffs in China, now on their second grace extension, and the situation of the de minimis shipments from EU, I am approaching our production more slowly and carefully. My life will also experience a monumental escalation by year's end, and that may impact some stuff. I wonder what that might be. My guess is kiddo. Finally, as always, I'm dedicated to excellence, and I intend Heracles to be better than ATO in every way, while not replacing it due to the importance of story and primordial variety. All this is to say that although I'm committed to the December date, I will not hesitate to postpone if there is need here. This, of course, does not impact our other projects, namely KF Wave 2 and Enormity, both of which are at very advanced stages of development, or in the case of Enormity, miniature production. This also means that I've decided against ITU doing a new campaign this year. With the success of our previous campaigns and ATO's continued sales 6 years on, we're in no rush for additional funds or to chase the infinite growth year on year. Plus, I wouldn't be able to participate in it in person, and I do love the excitement. Maybe not Kiddo, maybe something else. Instead, we're bolstering the teams on all 3 ongoing projects. Maybe a holiday. Maybe Merson will take an extended holiday for the first time, maybe ever. Pre-production of our next thing does continue, and we will have at least 1 new offering for you next spring, but that's for a different update. Interesting. So my guess is it's probably one of the projects that they've already teased. Wanderlust was probably the most interesting looking one to me, which I physically don't think I can support it. There's too many games, but we'll definitely be following. I love all the stuff that they've got. That, or there's the Gothic one too, so my guess is probably one of those two. Have a great rest of the month, and see you in 6 weeks. Oikos team. Cool. This, I'm going to guess, is probably Interteam swag. Yeah, so for anyone going to Eschen Spiel, look for these shirts, and the ITU team is probably going to be wearing them. Call back to the beginning of the update. Short update? Not at all. It was a very long one. Maybe less long than some, but very text heavy. So thanks for tuning in. This is obviously going to be a bit of a longer read through, and we'll catch you next time. Bye!